Hey, how's it going? If you're interested in growing your wellness business and dominating your local market and being the best and the most well-known wellness and holistic business in your area, this video is for you. So I'm going to dive into the best hybrid marketing approach that you can possibly be doing. So quickly, I just want to dive deep and talk about a couple different scenarios that you might be encountering. I'm sure every one of you started your wellness business to change as many lives as possible, but you might not be getting the chance to do that because you're not reaching as many people as you would like. And it's super, super frustrating when you know that your services can improve the lives of more people, but you're failing to do that. There's nothing worse than knowing that, for example, your infrared sauna and red light therapy services can help people improve energy and sleep, for example. And there's nothing more annoying than knowing that there's people out there who have no idea that you can even help them with this, right? So it's just the worst thing possible. We all are in the wellness game to improve lives and spread the word about the power of some of these approaches. And maybe you've attempted to market your business in the past, but it hasn't really gotten you the best or your desired return on investment. And I want to finish this by saying I can guarantee that none of your local competitors are doing this. Unless we are helping them, unless, myself and my team are helping them, they're probably not doing this. And the reason I know that is I've researched over 75 of the top wellness and holistic businesses in the 10 biggest cities in the country. So New York, LA, Phoenix, Chicago, et cetera, et cetera. And that's not to toot my own horn. I just want to provide some context into kind of why I'm saying that. Again, it's not some braggadocious desire for me saying that. I just really want to break down why I know what I know and why I'm saying that. I've researched every factor of their online presence for these 75 top wellness businesses in regards to analyzing their social media, auditing their SEO efforts, and looking at what kind of paid marketing they're doing. Now, those are the three main categories. And when I say top wellness businesses, if a business doesn't show up in the top 5 or 10 spots on Google when someone's looking for a specific type of service, then chances are they're not doing any of these things, because if they were, then they wouldn't be, not in the top 10 or failing to reach the top 10 or top 5 businesses. So I'm going to talk about exactly what you should not be doing. Now, for those of you that do have this Google Doc and training, I just want to kind of fix this formatting quick and center that. But essentially, you should not only be relying on paid ads. The reason being is you're going to have a lack of sustainable traffic and you're going to have higher costs over time. So when you're strictly relying on new clientele coming in from paid traffic sources, you are going to have a higher CPA and CPL, and your other KPIs are going to be higher as well. Now, for those of you who don't know what CPL and CPA stand for, cost per lead and cost per acquisition, or cost per acquired customer. And keep in mind, as I go through this, I'm not touching on every single bullet point. I'm kind of just giving you the main reasons why. So keep that in mind. And you're going to have a difficulty standing out, which is also known as ad blindness. So what I mean by that is, let's say, again, pure hypothetical, but let's say you are only using Google Ads to generate clientele. If 2 or 3 other businesses who are your competitors in the area are also using Google Ads, and you don't have any local SEO, and if you don't have any type of social media presence, you're not going to stand out, because typically, I'm sure everyone can relate to this point, but we're all consumers, right? So I'm sure everyone has seen an ad, whether it's on Facebook or Google ad, or maybe they've clicked on a piece of content from an organic search, and regardless of how they initially came into contact with that business or with that piece of content or ad, they've gone to other channels to maybe find out more about that business. So specifically, if I know I've done this. If I've clicked on a Facebook ad, I might go to Google and now look that business up. Or vice versa, I might see a Google ad and then go on Instagram and try and find them and see what kind of content they're pushing out. So it goes both ways. And then also a lack of credibility. Now, keep in mind it's a broad statement. I'm not saying if you're only doing SEO or if you're only doing paid social media ads that you're not going to be credible. I'm just saying that if people can't find you on other channels or if you're not coming across their screens through other ways, you're not going to stand out as much, right? So another example is, let's say I click on an ad for a business that is running some kind of infrared sauna special, maybe contrast therapy special, and then now I'm doing a Google search a week later and I totally forgot about that business, and now I see an organic piece of content that comes up on my screen and on my search. I might now click on that and read that article if it's very valuable and it's high quality. I'm now going to be pretty intrigued, and now I might click on their business, go through some case studies, take a deeper dive into what they're doing, look at other pieces of content, and then before I know it, I'm thinking, wow, this business really knows what they're talking about. Yeah, why not? I might take them up on that offer. Now, if you are running ads the right way, you should be including scarcity into that offer. So if people aren't pulling the trigger in X amount of time, they're probably going to miss out on that special or on that specific offer. Now, keep in mind, I will have future videos talking just about ads and talking, honing in more on various aspects of this training in the future. So this is kind of just a broad overview of the approach. I will be talking more specifically about some of the different topics that I touch on in later videos. So be sure to subscribe and click the bell so that you can be notified when I push out new content. It doesn't hurt. It's free. Nothing but free value, so it doesn't hurt. Second is, if you're failing to incorporate SEO into your marketing, you're going to have some cons. So what I mean by that is you're going to have decreased secondary exposure. So when visitors are coming to your website from organic searches and organic listings, they have a higher intent and they're much more likely to engage in content rather than if they're coming through a paid ad like Facebook or maybe a PPC ad. And when they're coming through a paid ad, they're less likely to engage, which means it's not going to drive further spread and exposure most of the times. And when they only interact with the specific ad rather than browsing around, that's going to basically signal to Google that your content isn't as relevant as it should be. So in other words, there's no multiplier effect. When, if you get a single organic visitor, it leads to more visitors because of a variety of metrics that Google looks for when deciding what business to rank over another business. I do have another video just touching on key website metrics that you should be aware of that is affecting your SEO. You can find that in my SEO playlist, but basically a single organic visitor who maybe spends 7 minutes on your website page and is clicking on multiple pieces of content, that's going to tell Google, hey, this content's super, super engaging and it's highly relevant. Let's start pushing that out more. But typically paid traffic, it doesn't really spawn or result in further traffic as much as local, just due to those website metrics. So basically, a hybrid approach, it will generate exponential growth while keeping costs lower, whereas relying only on paid advertising or only on one of these different methods. And the reason for that is when you're only relying on one of these methods, specifically paid ads for the example, you're going to always be needing to spend money to generate leads, which is not good. And I touched on this a little bit, but basically you're going to be limiting your brand authority because you're not going to be popping up in different channels. Lacking an organic social media presence also hurts your business in a couple different ways. So specifically, you're going to be missing out on the ability to test content. So if you're not pushing out short form and long form, different variations of that consistently, when you go to run a meta ad, you're not going to have numbers and feedback from your organic posts giving you a hint and an educated guess on what kind of ad to use. So, as you guys know, when it comes to running meta ads, testing the creative is huge. So, you're not going to have the ability to have a more educated campaign implementation. When you have feedback on organic posts, you're going to have a pretty good idea of what creative you should be beginning to kind of run that campaign and start testing with. Where if you're not running any kind of social media strategy, you're going to kind of just be shooting in the dark a little bit. Obviously, it does still work where you can just turn on an ad, and if you run it the right way, it does work, but it's nice to have the ability to kind of look at that feedback from organic posts. And again, I'm harping on this one a lot, but you're limiting your brand awareness. Again, if I see an ad on Google, I'm probably going to go look to social media and try and find that business. And missing out on social proof, and you're going to have the inability to monitor different conversations from potential customers on some similar pages or maybe some bigger social media profiles and people in the game like Gary Brecka. If you're implementing content curation into social media, which I highly, highly recommend, by not having an organic or an organic social media presence, you're not going to have the ability to kind of see what people are saying and then give you feedback on your own posts, but also engage with them. And again, having social media content, it does affect SEO in a very positive way, so you're going to be missing out on that. Now, I did just touch on content curation. I will touch on that later in this video, but I'm not going to dive super deep into that. I will be pushing out content on that specifically and on why that's important in future videos. So please subscribe if you want to, learn more about that in the future. Now, this is not going to work for you if you change your mind more than you change your clothes. There's lots of factors that come into play when improving local SEO, and it takes time to see improved ranking on this right here, which basically stands for search engine result pages. And running ads also does take some testing, right? So if you're not patient, this is not going to work for you. There's no magic button when it comes to marketing that you can just push and generate 100 new prospects. I would imagine if you're watching this video, you kind of already know that, but I just wanted to say that because sometimes people do have the wrong idea when they do jump into marketing, is they expect to do it for a week and then they get all these new clientele and they boost their revenue by 5K in the first couple days. Is it possible? If you have the right offer structure, if you're running the right kind of ads, of course, very quick results are possible, but it's good to have proper expectations. Now, what happens if you wait? You will have higher KPIs than necessary. If you don't implement this hybrid approach, you're going to have a decreased bottom line revenue because, again, I touched on this already, but your KPIs are going to be higher than they should. And I'm kind of a book nerd, so I included this quote from Napoleon Hill, but don't wait, the time will never be just right. Now, again, take that with a grain of salt. I'm not saying to dump $10,000 or $3,000 into ads tomorrow. I'm not saying that. I'm just including the quote because I like it, and, if you're interpreting that quote how I intend, you kind of get my point, right? There's never going to be a perfect time to start doing this stuff. There's always going to be things in life. So even starting smaller is better than nothing. But essentially, it's difficult to regain. I want to, move past that. Again, I don't want anyone to take that the wrong way and dump $10,000 into a Google ad tomorrow and say, "Oh, Christian told me to be implementing a hybrid approach." So please don't do that. But essentially, it's difficult to regain traction and edge in terms of local authority from a competitor that's been doing this stuff for a while. Now, keep in mind, a lot of people aren't. I could almost guarantee that competitors in your local area are not doing this. However, as time progresses, people will begin to do this. let me just fix this really quick for the people who do have this training. So what works is, again, the hybrid model that I'm touching on. Now, first and foremost, local PPC. It's geo-targeted, so you can only show up for specific local searches, and it focuses your budget on users that are highly qualified because they're showing a high intent for some of these different keywords and potential services. And when it comes to local PPC, it is good to kind of focus on informational and transactional intent searches, both long tail and short tail keywords. Now, again, this video is not going to dive super specific into any single part of this model. So please check out my other videos. And again, this channel is pretty new, so I will be pushing out more videos on all these different topics, going more in depth. And again, just how with SEO you want to be focusing on informational and transactional searches, the same goes for PPC. And it allows you to get immediate traffic as SEO begins to ramp up. Now, something that could be coming in the future is local service, or otherwise known as verified ads. This is not to confuse you. The reason I'm saying this is I recently reached out to Google to try and get more categories approved in the wellness industry. So right now they only have, I think, acupuncture and a couple others. So for those of you that, are alternative medicine, infrared sauna, cryotherapy spots, it doesn't really make sense to do that. So again, I'm not that important, but hopefully as more people kind of reach out to Google and request more categories, some of these, different sub-industries within the wellness industry as a whole will be accepted. And the reason I'm including this is because it's good to know about. There are a couple key differences between PPC and service ads. Basically, the service ads run on a pricing model that is cost per lead. So you're only paying per lead, which is nice because with the traditional Google ads, you're paying per click. And typically, service ads do generate customers who are more inclined to take action or more qualified. Now, again, the cost per lead will be higher, but they are going to be more qualified and more likely to actually convert into a paying customer. And then second is local SEO. It's super, super important to kind of optimize the four main aspects of SEO: technical, on-page, off-page, and content SEO. Specifically content SEO, it should link back to specific localized service pages to build topical authority. And again, the goal is to have hyper-localized content. Now again, I have a playlist just talking about SEO. I have a couple of videos on that now. I will be pushing out more SEO content in the future. So this video is not to really dive, again, I just mentioned this, but it's not to dive really deep into any of these, in any of the parts of the strategy specifically, just to give you an overview of the process. But for those of you who don't know what SEO means, basically it's a fancy acronym for search engine optimization, which is basically how good is your business at showing up on Google above another business. Last but not least is social media content. It provides the opportunity to have cost-effective lead generation, and I mentioned this already, but it does improve SEO. Having content on these different channels, it does signal to Google that you are an authoritative figure in whatever space you're in. And it allows you to have amplified content. So people are much more likely to share content that is on their social media than a content piece or a Google ad, right? If I see a really killer organic piece of content, I might send it to a couple friends or family members. But if I see a nice blog or content piece on Google, unless it's really, really captivating, which the goal is to have it be that way, but you're going to get less shares. People are just less likely to go and copy, the link and then send it to someone on email or text, right? And then when you mix original curated content and UGC, you get the best of both worlds. I will be diving deeper into why using those three in a overall social media strategy is important. Just to give you a couple of the key benefits of content curation is you save time and money. You can build industry connections, extend your social reach, and you can post a variety of content, so you save time and money. And it allows you to really As I just mentioned, maximize your resources. And the impact of UGC is you build authenticity, social proof, and amplified reach and awareness. Why this works, again, improve reach and awareness because you can tap into the different audiences among the different channels, exposing more potential customers to your brand. And again, the goal is to provide immediate and long-term traffic. PPC and meta ads, it can give you some pretty immediate and instant traffic, assuming it's run the right way, as local SEO and organic social media content gains momentum. And then as you're really getting more organic leads, you can kind of taper off the ads. It's nice because it's super flexible. If things get slow a little bit for a week or two in, the later stages of March or a specific holiday season, you can now run an ad, right? So it's super, super nice. And the goal is to have lower cost per lead and lower KPIs in general because you're blending the organic and paid methods. Specifically, cost per acquired customer will be a lot lower when you implement this hybrid approach. And I have to just keep harping on this because it's super important, is you strengthen your brand signal when you're pushing out content and when you're seen on different channels. People can't help themselves but to see you as a business that they should take seriously. Flexibility in testing is huge. I touched on this a little bit, but just to reiterate, it allows you to see what's resonating best with each customer segment on a specific channel. And it lowers your risk factor, right? So if, for whatever reason, if Instagram and Facebook change their algorithm and organically you're not doing as well, look, now you're doing paid ads as well on Google and Meta with the SEO, so you're still getting some solid prospecting. And the same goes for Google. If they change their algorithm that affects your ads or your SEO a little bit, and it takes time to tweak your strategy, you now have a solid presence on social media, both organically and paid. So again, I said this already, higher up in this training, but it's just super, super important to kind of nail this home, is having this smart hybrid approach allows you to generate exponential growth instead of only relying on paid ads or instead of only relying on one of these methods. Again, this is the goal for every business, to generate more qualified prospects at lower costs in the short term and long term. And decreasing volatility, again, that's huge for any business, but especially the wellness industry. And what does this do? It allows you to dominate your local market. So what needs to happen is you have to first begin a localized, optimized SEO campaign. I don't know why I just gave the thumbs up. I'm sure for those of you that use Zoom, you guys have seen the same thing. When you give a thumbs up, it for some reason adds that emoji on the screen. And then second, you want to launch an organic that, again, you can kind of see the trend here. That's locally emphasized social media campaigns consisting of the big three: UGC, content curation, and self-promotion, both short form and long form. And then you want to implement Meta and Google Ads into your lead generation efforts as your budget kind of allows you to do so. Again, I'm not saying pump 2K into Meta ads if you're kind of really struggling to get that bottom line revenue that you're looking for. The goal is to kind of let SEO and organic generate some leads that allows you to now run ads. Again, if you're at a place where you can run ads as you begin these first two steps, that's ideal. And then last but not least is taper off the ads as local SEO ramps up, which allows you to be flexible and kind of turn the ads on and off as you maybe have a slow week or a couple slow weeks here and there. This is a very broad 4-step process. I won't get into the micro steps, but this is a very broad 4-step process. Now, what you can do is a couple things. Is one, feel free to book a free call using the link in my bio, where basically what I do is typically I have 2 calls with somebody. The first call is really just to get to know you better, get to know your business better. I ask you some very, very specific questions that will then give me an understanding of what you actually need, rather than being a business and somebody that just says, okay, John, we're going to do this, and this without really getting to know, your experience with everything, what you've tried, and some of the key questions and answers that will give me a better understanding of what actually needs to be done to get you from point A to point B. So that's why the first call is really just to, again, free call, nothing to lose. But I encourage you, only book a call if you are serious about, growing your wellness business. And then the second call, if it makes sense, we would then have a second call talking about how the process works and how, give you some more of the details of how myself and my team actually kind of get you going in the process. Or if you're hesitant, which I understand, I'm just some guy on the internet. You don't know me, I don't know you. Follow me on Instagram, on Facebook, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and just take the time to listen to my content, see if it speaks to you, see if it resonates with you. There's no pressure. Shoot me a follow. It's free. It doesn't hurt. And then if it makes sense to hop on a call down the line for you, I'd love to speak to you then. Now, something to keep in mind is this is not any pressure. I just want to be fully transparent. Is I only work with one business in each service area. So the reason I do that is it would not be ethical to help out 3 businesses that are competing for the same clientele, and it would just be inefficient and it's just not fair, right? If there's 2 businesses on the same street that offer infrared sauna and some of the same things as each other, why am I going to help both of them out? It's just doing a disservice to both of those business owners and businesses. So the reason I'm saying that is I would hate for you to think about booking a call, but then saying, I'll just wait a couple months, and then you reach out in a couple months, and we happen to be working with somebody in your area, and really, if that's the case, there's nothing we can do. We don't make any, we don't work around that in any way. If we happen to be with somebody else, that's it. There's nothing we can do. So I just want to be fully transparent. Again, no pressure. I do just want you to be aware of that. And the reason is because we know what we do works, and it doesn't make sense to do it for people competing for the same business. But that's pretty much it. I hope you got a lot from this video. And if you want access to this training, just shoot me a message or drop a comment and I'll send it to you. And yeah, I hope you have a good one and take care.